right, the red light's on. That means we go live. Are we live? Oof, oof. We are live. Once again, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you may be. This is Frank Monday, broadcasting to you from Beijing, China, Central Kingdom of the Celestial Dragon. Greetings and salutations, mendicants and supplicants alike, witches and warlocks, wizards, sorcerers, and magi. A gathering of spiritualized individuals along the path of magic. Hope everyone's well out in Happy Land this morning. It is Monday, the 5th of July. So currently in the States, you guys must still be, well, no, yeah, it'd be 7 p.m. 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and like 5 p.m. Mountain Time on the 4th of July. You guys are probably just now starting to set off most of your fireworks. And I'm sure a couple of you have had a couple of Coors Lights, Colorado Rockies style, or maybe Budweiser's your preferred beverage of choice. You never know. It's either Coors or Budweiser, right? Just kidding. I know that a lot of you, no fireworks, that's no good. Get out the cannon. Put a cannonball in there. Blast a brick wall down. When I was a kid, well, my father was a Navy man, officer in World War II. But when I was a kid, he had a small cannon that he would fire off on the 4th of July. I don't know if any of you out there in Happy Land remember that, but we lived in Los Angeles County and in the suburbs there. And back in those days, you were allowed, I say, as if the government has the right to allow or disallow anything. They don't have that privilege. The Constitution enshrined the idea that our rights are God-given, not government-given. So anyway, folks, he would blow off a cannon, and another guy, one of our neighbors, I remember he would write people's name or Happy 4th of July in gunpowder on the street, on the tarmac, and then light it off. His name was Wilkinson. So if you're out there, I know that I got a couple of Wilkinsons on my live feed somewhere. If you tune in, I don't know if you guys remember Mr. Wilkinson using gunpowder to write stuff in the street. That was fun to watch. And some folks would blow off mortars. There were mortars with big heavy shells that would just, explode in the sky. It was a fun practice to take a old Folgers coffee can and then light with a punk, use a punk like an incense stick, and light and throw individual firecrackers into the coffee can, and they would explode. That was fun. I remember I was about 4 or 5 maybe, and Pops brought home a big box full of different fireworks, and it had a brick or two of Black Cat firecrackers in there, and I was in the back by myself, 4 or 5 years old little boy, lighting them off one by one, throwing them into the coffee can, and I got mesmerized by the sparkling of the gunpowder on the fuse of the firecracker. And so I was holding one in my hand aloft, and I had lit it, and I was watching it twinkle And I'm like, isn't that pretty? Then bam, it went off in my hand. And that really shocked me. It blew my fingers apart, obviously. It didn't blow them off or anything. It's just a firecracker. But it left blisters on my hand where it blew up, and they filled with blood. So I called them blood blisters. And I ran in the house, "Mommy, Mommy," crying like a baby, you know. But that was a good lesson. I mean, it didn't do any permanent damage, but it taught me a vital lesson, that once you've pulled the pin on a hand grenade, you need to throw it quick, fast, in a hurry. You know, once you've lit in the firecracker, that was the only time, the one and only time I ever allowed a firecracker to go off in my hand. But did I stop playing with fireworks? No. Like, my mom was threatening. She yelled at my dad and was threatening to throw all the fireworks away. And that broke my heart. I was like, no. Just because I fucked up doesn't mean that we should lose all those primo firecrackers. And we took a M1000 and put it into a 50 caliber ammo canister, one of those metal ammo canisters, and blew it off, and a piece of shrapnel flew off it and hit my friend. I think it hit Matt Brannon. So if you're out there, I know you're on my list too, Matt. If you're out there in Happy Land, I don't know if you remember that piece of shrapnel hitting you when we blew off that M1000. They said an M1000 was like a quarter stick of dynamite. They were pretty gnarly, big cigar, bigger than a cigar, and long, with the fuse right in the middle. We had access to some pretty good fireworks back then. And at that same time, there was like bricks or kilos of something. I think it was Ron Johnson. He rode a Ninja, like a Kawasaki or something, crotch rocket, a rice grinder. And he had a big brick of this stuff he called Lebanese blonde hash. And he was, very generous with it, giving it away to all the kids. That was the kind of neighborhood it was. Folks were quite generous. And there was down at the corner, not far from where I was born and raised, was a car wash gas station called the Bubble Machine. And the interesting thing about the Bubble Machine was a lot of celebrities, not well known at the time, but one girl that had cut an album had their cars washed there. One was Lita Ford. She would go there. She drove like a 55 Chevy, or it might have been a Ford, or like a baby blue Ford convertible. And she would have her car washed there. Lita Ford. Yeah, I ended up meeting her one time as a kid down at the Bubble Machine. Fun times. That was a good little neighborhood. Not anymore though. I've been back there since, and there was a phenomena occurring at the time that was manufactured crime, is what my father called it. He said there were white papers on it that they were setting up, the CIA, FBI, those guys, deep state guys, were setting up an operation of manufactured crime in order to fuel the need for greater policing. And so what they were doing was going into some of the poorer recent immigrant neighborhoods and putting in a series of shops. Are you fucking serious, dude? What an asshole, idiot. dude was just in the wrong lane, passing for no reason. Whole throng of traffic coming head on. You gotta stay on your toes here on Plum Blossom Lane. So they were setting up a network, a grid of the way it went was they had liquor store, adult video store, gun store, and pawn shop, all on each intersection. So you would have these strip malls, and in the strip malls they were setting up the whiskey store, you know, with the cigarettes and the whiskey and the candy and the magazines. And then right next to that they'd have the gun shop, where you could go in and buy a Saturday night special for $50, you know, like a 38 snub-nose revolver or something. And then across from that they'd have the adult video store, and then next to that they'd have the pawn shop, and they would have pimps and hookers hanging around outside. And they introduced crack cocaine into those neighborhoods. And so they were flooding the street with LSD and crack cocaine, and, you know, hey kid, why don't you buy a gun? Go rob that liquor store. And they had genuine, you know, FBI guys leading the charge, trying to get folks involved in crime. And the reason is they wanted to hand out prison sentences and have the ability to knock off whoever they wanted, you know, and drum up the numbers in the local jails, keep the cops busy, and then at the same time they can run smoke and mirrors for whatever else they had going on. Kidnapping children, raping housewives, flooding the streets with immigrants from nations they just got through bombing. And what was the ultimate overarching goal? Well, you can see it today. You can see the fruits of decades of institutionalized manufactured crime in the United States by the deep state. That's what those characters get up to. Gives them the opportunity to try to strip away more rights and freedoms and shit all over your civil liberties. So that's an insider's perspective right there for you. You may not have known about those phenomena, but that's the phenomena I grew up in. I love y'all good-looking, sexy fucking people out in Happy Land. I will see you later. Bye for now.